Welcome to the Conscious Living Podcast, conversations to educate, empower, and enlighten our world. An uplifting and inspiring series of conversations and talks with your host, Jackie Woodside. We are educating minds, empowering lives, and enlightening souls to create a world where love prevails. In this engaging podcast, we deliver exciting, positive, transformative talks and teachings designed to elevate your life. Now, let's join our host, Jackie Woodside, for this week's session.
Hello there. Hi, everybody. I'm so glad you're here with us again for the Conscious Living Podcast. I'm Jackie Woodside, the founder and the host of this wonderful show. I just have to thank you so much for being here. You know, I learned recently that we're in like the top 10% of all podcasts out there, and our listenership just keeps growing and growing. And it's because of people like you who are living through these crazy, chaotic times and saying, how do I live more consciously? How do I find peace in the chaos of our world? And that's what we're all about here on the Conscious Living Podcast. So thank you for being one of our listeners. And most of all, thank you for sharing our podcast with your friends. Be sure that you leave us a like or a review on whatever podcast channel you're listening to, because as you know, the world we live in is driven by algorithms. So the more people that connect with our show and let people know that they've connected with our show, the more eyes that people will get on this show. So thank you for being here. And, you know, most weeks I bring on a featured guest, someone who is an expert in some area of conscious living. And occasionally I just come on and talk to you myself. But today is one of those days that I am bringing to the Conscious Living Podcast an expert guest, transformational coach, intuitive channel, and master energy healer. How exciting is that? Kim Thalken, who left a successful 15-year career in the entertainment industry to follow her soul's calling, to help people awaken and to thrive. And, you know, as I said, to live life more consciously, to navigate the challenges of being in the human suit that we are in, that spiritual beings having a human experience. She is now a global speaker, teacher, and guide in the areas of personal and spiritual development. We are like first cousins in that domain. And Kim, I'm so grateful that you're spending your time with us today. Welcome to the show. And is there anything you want to add to what I said about you so our listeners can get to know you a little bit better? Want to flesh that out a bit?
Yeah, well, thank you so much, Jackie, for having me on this show. And thank you for the listeners too and welcoming me. I'm so excited to be here because I love the concept of conscious living. So important. As you said earlier, Jackie, how do we manage living in what sometimes feels like a chaotic world? How do we find peace? And we do that through conscious living. So thank you for that warm introduction. The only thing I would add is that I do hypnotherapy as well. And there are three pillars of my work. I say in the work that I do is number one, we engage the soul, which is the intuition, the higher self. Number two, we purify the energy with energy healing. And number three, we upgrade the mind through hypnosis. And what I find is that when you do those three things, that it just lends itself to beautiful and powerful transformations. So that's how I support, the people that I love working with. But in addition to that, I do workshops. I have a meetup group that's all about spiritual and personal development. And as you said, I left the corporate world. I was in the entertainment industry for 15 years. Thought I was going to climb the corporate ladder, went out to graduate school. And that was really the trajectory that I was on until I wasn't, until I started connecting with the higher aspects of me, which I believe we're going to be talking a little bit about today. And that changed the course of, the path that I was on to a much different path, allowing me to live my life's purpose and passion, which is the work it is that I so love. And the work that I think is so important today, given, where humanity is in our ascension and what it really is an amazing time to be alive. And sometimes we hear people say that, and sometimes it doesn't feel like it. But truly, when you connect to higher aspects of yourself, then you start to feel that more and more. And you start to create your life from a different place. And no matter what's going on in that outside world, you still create your realities. You have the choice. You get to decide what you want your world to be like. And I feel like that's our greatest contribution that we could give to humanity, and the earth at this time.
I couldn't agree more. I love that, those three pillars that you work with, Kim. And the first one that you talked about was connecting to your higher self. And I love that. And I also know that we toss around these phrases, right? Like, I need to connect with my higher self. I need to get in touch with my inner wisdom. What do you mean by that? Or what do we mean as people who are spiritual seekers? What is the higher self? And how do you define that?
Yeah, people, you can use different words. You might hear intuition, soul, higher self, future self. For me, it's all one and the same. I use those words sometimes interchangeably. The soul, which is the eternal you, the eternal me. And the higher self is really the aspect of you that's already achieved all it is that you desire. So if there is an aspect of you that holds those answers, why wouldn't we want to connect to that aspect of us that's going to assist us in doing that, in elevating our own life in that way, bringing our dreams, our vision, the things it is that we want to see in our life to life. And yeah, so that's how it's the part of us that is never disconnected from all that is, from the highest levels of wisdom, from truth. It is the divine, the divinity within us.
Hmm.
For me, it's all of these things.
Yeah, I love that. And in your understanding, how is it that the divine, the higher self, I call it your God self, how
Yeah.
in your understanding, how does your higher self communicate with us in our days, and what can we do to facilitate that communication?
Well, there's many different ways in which the higher self can communicate with us. And that's one of the things when we start to develop that relationship and strengthen it even more, then what I like to say, our universe starts to engage with us, interact with us. And the more aware we are of it, the more we give credit where credit is due and not just chalk it up to, some kind of coincidence, the stronger that connection becomes and the more magical life becomes along with it, I say. So, some of the more common ways are through our senses, right? Maybe what we would call our psychic senses, our clairs, clairaudience, clear hearing. So we might hear a word or a phrase in our mind, like a soft whisper. We might see clairvoyance, see a vision or a snapshot of a picture in our mind's eye. We might feel clairsentience, clear feeling. How do we feel around this person or that situation? Wow, I feel elated. Or, wow, I'm not feeling so comfortable. It doesn't feel so good. Or claircognizance, our main clairs, clear knowing. How do we know? We don't know. We just know what we know is correct. And that, everybody has a stronger, we might have one predominant clair in the beginning. A lot of us, especially women, are pretty big feelers. So clairsentience seems to be pretty strong. But then as you develop this awareness, then you might start off with one predominant clair, and then the other ones start to come to life too. So like when I'm in a session with somebody, I might feel a certain way. They might ask me for guidance around something. I might feel something, like, wow, this feels like a really expansive opportunity. Oh, and I just heard the words move forward. So, oh, what I just saw the snapshot of it. There's a gentleman, whatever it is, you might get a picture too. So, now, because I've had many years of practice, I'm using all of my senses and they're all, I'm working with all of them in any given session. But in the beginning, we might start off with one and then others start to become stronger. Now, those are the clairs, but we could get messages from somebody else. We could be having a conversation today, Jackie, and you're just casually sharing something with me. And all of a sudden, wow, that resonated, that there was an activation in what you just said that lets me know, oh, that message was for me. Or I may be saying something, and as I'm sharing something casually with somebody else, I'm getting the message, ooh, that was for me too. What I just said was also for me. So there's really any number of ways you might be contemplating, should I move to Arizona? Is that a highest align for me? I don't know. And then, you pull up in back of a car with a license plate that says, big words, Arizona, So the thing that is key, that I find is key, is to be aware. Be aware. And when something like that happens, take note of that. Take note of it. Most of the times people discard the messages that are given to them. Or like I said earlier, they chalk it up to coincidence, or they just kind of shrug it off. And that's really an opportunity that is lost in my opinion. The more we connect the dots, the more empowered we are. We start to see, wow, you know what? That was a message that was from me for me.
Mm-hmm.
And then that connection gets stronger.
Yeah. And as it gets stronger, like, what's the correlation, I guess, in your understanding between having this connection to the higher self and our capacity to live a high consciousness, or, a conscious living, to live life more consciously, or to live life at a higher vibration, a higher level of consciousness?
Well, your higher self is your expanded self. It is the aspect of you that exists in a higher realm of being, a higher existence. So if you're living from an aspect of you that's in a higher existence, then you start to live from that place too. And the guidance that your higher self will give you is one that will encourage you to take next steps in becoming a higher version of in stepping into the unknown, in taking a new path in life, just like I did, moving from the entertainment industry down this path, allowing me now to live my life's purpose. So when you start following the guidance from your highest self, then that's the life you start living, and your vibration, your frequency elevates. When your frequency elevates, then those are the realities it is, and you start to bring forth in your own experience.
Yeah, again, I love the opportunity to pick apart these phrases that we use. And I use this phrase all the time as well. But you said, would you say vibrate, as we elevate? What does that actually mean when we change our vibration? And by the way, I wrote a book called Money Vibe. I write about vibration and frequency all the time, and love to teach about it. But I also like to just go back to the basics sometimes. What does that actually mean? When you're vibrating differently, a different frequency.
Oh. Well, your heart is open. Your heart opens. So you start to live more from your heart than your mind. And energy holds a vibration and a frequency that comes with that. So we live in a vibrational world. And I mean, you could think of it as, well, love, divine love, pure love. Even when you say that word, you feel good, Wow. Just see, as I'm saying it right now, I feel it's activated my heart. And I feel that activation in my heart. Divine love, pure love. Wow. I feel that. That's an elevated state of feeling and being. Now, contrary to that, if I were to say sorrow, helplessness, hopelessness, even that drags, it's a draining energy. It pulls you down, right? Rather than lifts you up. So, that's how you can tell if you are living in a higher vibrational state of being versus a lower, or a state of being that holds more density. It
Mm.
feels dense. I mean, when you say the word hopeless, that feels dense. If you feel into the word, it feels dense.
Yeah.
So you will know when you're living in a higher vibrational state, because you will feel feelings of being elated.
Mhm.
You will feel so happy. You don't even, so much joy, you don't even know what to do with yourself.
Nice.
Really, and you'll feel inspired. You'll feel like everything is possible. You'll get ideas of creativity, inspiration start to flow through you. All things are possible. Wow, what do I want to do? What do I want to create? You see, that's very different than helpless and hopeless, right? What happens when we're living in that state?
Yeah.
Inspiration, creativity, so it's closed off
Yeah.
because the density, it's the energy, the energy is too dense to have that beautiful stuff, that beautiful flow of inspiration come through.
I love
So
that. We go to a
yeah.
union church, and when my son was little, he was in the children's program there. And in the children's program, they used to teach the children to use wing words, not weight words. And they would teach the children how certain words lift you up and raise your vibration, and how certain words pull you down. They weigh you down and change your vibration in a lower way. So I used to love that, from a very early age. My son was given that exposure to exactly what you're saying, that there is an energy and a vibration to the language that we use. And of course, the language that we use is reflective of the consciousness that we live in. It is indicative of the consciousness that someone lives in when you simply listen to how they language their world. And
Mhm.
one of the ways that we can live to change our vibration, live in a higher vibration, is to consciously choose to use higher vibration language, to describe things in higher vibration ways. And people often ask me, yeah, but what if I don't feel that way? What if I do really feel like this sucks? What if I really don't like, think this person is difficult? What do you say to that, Kim? I have certainly given lots of answers to it, but what do you say to that person that says, yeah, but this really is, this really is sucky, or I really don't like it, or, how do you respond to people who are in that place?
you know to honor those feelings, that aspect of you, to honor that, because we're allowed to, that's a part of the experience here, and